Good morning, everybody. I'm back. We have some exciting news today to go over a lot of stuff. Plus, at the end of this show, we have all of our Christmas giveaways. Let's get started. Hey, good morning, everybody. My name is Dr. Patrick Flynn, and welcome to this morning's A Different Perspective. I am always so excited that you guys are here. We got some amazing stuff to cover. Thank you so much for Nicole for doing the last week's show as she covered mistletoe and its effect on cancer and things. I hope you guys absolutely would love that show. I had so many emails come from it. It's absolutely incredible. Thank you, Nicole, for doing that. I was traveling in Atlanta. I had a great time. I had some business in Atlanta I had to do. We have an office that will be opening up in more the East Cobb, so north by Marietta area. It's exciting to have another office that's going to be there. Plus, I had some time where I actually got to golf. Got to golf with three amazing men, Dr. Jeremy Maxwell, Dr. Brandon Vizant, and Dr. Samson Fanley, and also my future son-in-law, and also Dr. Devin, who actually got to come over on Sunday. We got to hang out and at one of my favorite golf resorts in the world. So we did some business, hung out with three amazing people, and just had some wonderful time. So thank you for having Nicole on the show and welcoming her, and she did a wonderful job, and thank you for all the questions that she got. She was slam busy with all those things, so it was fantastic. But then it was really weird. I had such an incredible week. All the amazing things happened, and I got here yesterday at about, I'd say, I don't know, 6:30 or so. And I was sitting down, and I just had a hunch. It really is, because I look at all of our media, and our media's been going crazy. It really did. Miranda and I created just a video on women in sleep. And what happened was this, and all of a sudden we posted it, and all it did was just go through the basic physiology of how women need more sleep than men. Just it. And based on one thing, I want their hormone fuel tanks to fill back up. That's it. Guys, we're lucky. We have testicles. They produce hormone very quickly. We don't have to worry about conversions. We don't have to worry about a lot of storage that way. But the cool thing is women need a little bit more time to build up hormones, so they need a little more sleep. Best to get to bed by 9 o'clock. Crazy. Well, no joke. Post it. Within a day, we had 10 million views. You know, we've got some 12.5 or 6 million views already on that way. Went viral over the world. Even where my daughters came home from high school and said, "Dad, people are showing us all your TikTok and stuff like that." I'm like, that was kind of funny, but it was just a general explanation of how women need just a little bit more sleep. So then all of a sudden, Friday morning, it's 6:30, sitting in my office, just kind of peaceful and quiet. I'm like, I have a hunch. I have a little hunch. I jumped on our media page that kind of built our media. And it was actually just a Facebook page, which just had Dr. Patrick Flynn. And it grew exponentially and everything like that, and that's where the majority of stuff came from. And then about a year and a half ago, we got kicked off. Our team, Ethan, who was one of our specialists, was on the phone with Facebook, constant messages with them, and they just would not let me back on. Well, for some reason, I just had a little intuition. I jumped on the page because I had to dig for it because, it's shut down. And I just said, I pushed it, it opened up, and I pushed live, it went live. So, as you know, we will be back on one of our big pages that kind of built the media. And here's the page. If you go to it, you can see here, just a screenshot of it. It's our official page. Right now, we went down a little bit in numbers, but you can see it's the one that says 98,000 followers. Plus, I don't follow anybody on that page, but it's kind of funny. So Dr. Patrick Flynn, and then parentheses, Patrick Flynn DC. That is the page. I'm back on it. It's great. We do have another page that's very similar. It only has a certain amount of followers, but we're going to eventually get rid of that page and come back to our original big page of things that way. Now, if you say, Doc, you have other media that has more followers than that. Yeah, I do. But the idea is this, is that page means so much to me because it really is where we used to have a couple thousand people live every time we jumped on Saturdays. It was just neat to actually have back. And so I jumped on Friday. Joshua said, well, let's go live right now. So we prepped everybody for the giveaways for today, and we are there. So it was kind of exciting. I was like, oh my goodness, we got our original Facebook page back after being kicked off for a year and a half. So I have no idea what's changed. We don't know. We got no notices. We got no anything. So we're back on there. So for you guys that are still like Facebook, I will be there. Go back to the original Dr. Patrick Flynn page, and we will start posting things there on a daily basis. Now, that being said, Talking about posting, don't forget to see our wonderful newsletter that you can sign up for. Remember, scroll all the way to the bottom. If you go to thewellnessway.com, put your email address in. We put out the greatest newsletter, the greatest information, all the great stuff every single week. I can honestly tell you, it recaps the show. We have the show on from the week before. We have everything up there. Sign up for it. We don't solicit you. We don't spam you. We just send you good stuff. I can honestly tell you, I'm impressed with what our investigative journalists do every single week. And the stories that we put together, plus some of the shows are recapped in writing, recapped in story. It's phenomenal because we love being on there, which allows you now to go to our second part, which if you go to the top right of the website, thewellnessway.com, you can see up top, what do? You click that little find a clinic button, and then you get to see everybody that is there, because there's clinics all over. Now, no joke, very soon, probably within a week or so, you'll see our Atlantic clinic up there. Now, once again, we do open many offices every single month. It was just neat that I get to head down to Atlanta and check it out. And it's kind of fun to actually go down there to one of my favorite places. Plus, my daughter Faith will be moving down there soon. So I was down there checking out one of the houses that we just got for them to move into. So it's kind of exciting. So, what a wonderful week. But, you know something? It's December. As you guys know, that we are kind of like a very giving Christmas. We love Christmas. We do. We love the holiday. It's just a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun because there's a lot of stuff going on, and we believe it's time to give like crazy. So I'm excited because take a look who's with us today. If we look over there, we have our giveaways. There's Eric, there's Joshua, there's Miranda, having some Zevias, having some good stuff. They're there, and what's going to happen, you can see them. They got their computers, they got their phones in front of them. We are on all the platforms right now because they are going to be choosing the winners for the giveaways. I have a whole list of our giveaways. There's a ton of them right here. You know what I'm saying? And I'm actually going to get them. Now, remember, be on thewellnessway.com, the adp.thewellnessway.com, and go through it because you can see right here, look at all the giveaways. And I actually love this. I apologize. I lied to you at the beginning. I said I was going to give away $50,000 worth. We upped it to $60,000 worth of giveaways. We'll probably go more by the end of the month. Heck, who knows? Might be 75, 80,000. Who knows? Maybe we'll break six figures of giveaways. But that's the best part. We keep on giving every from tests to labs to subs to scholarships, everything to consults. We're going to give a bunch away today. So it's exciting for us to actually do this. We have those wonderful people over there. So that being said, we're going to get into things that we need to get into today because December is very important as we see the snow come down. I saw a graphic with snow come down. That's pretty awesome. But guys, there we are. It's snowing in studio. Man, my team's awesome. It's fantastic. I'm not joking, guys. You know, you guys can't see Kyle. You can't see Travis, you can't see Dr. Lucas sitting here, but it's great being with a wonderful team all day long. We have a freaking blast all day. Oh, we even put the dancing snowman in there. Dang, these guys are good. Man, I love this stuff. Guys, trust me, I can just see the screen. I see myself here, and I see all the stuff come on the screen. You guys are amazing. Have lots of fun. It's a great Christmas time. So what we're going to do now, and we talked about something, go from smiling to something very serious. The one thing that I wanted to cover in the month of December was mental health, okay? It's important. It really is. December is one of the, could be some of the happiest times of the year for people, but it also could be some of the saddest times for people. It's a very enjoyable holiday, but it's also a holiday where people don't have a lot of people. There's a lot of depression. There's a lot of suicides. There's a lot of medications taken during this time. So what we're hoping to do is cover some of the concepts of it to see what can be done. Because the one thing that does happen is sometimes there are some wonderful, joyous things that happen. People have some devastating things that happen in life, even deaths that happen and things. And depression and anxiety and other mental illnesses seem to really rear its head during this kind of season. So what I want to do is I want to cover some of the topics of it. And just like we do with any month topic, we're going to build upon it that way. I'm going to cover some things that I just believe that are just some standards that we need to talk about today. And then we'll build upon it as the weeks go on because it's important to understand that mental health has to be taken very seriously. There are some people out there that are dealing stuff severely on a daily basis. So what can we do? Because I can honestly tell you, and I'm going to stand here and tell you, I have never experienced anxiety. I've never experienced depression. I've never been in a state. I've never been anxious. I've never had my heart racing and stuff like that. So I can only tell you my clinical experience. That's one thing I always want to bring it back. When we had our TikTok, we had like, 50,000 comments. And people say, you know, what's your expertise in order to talk about these things? It's very simple. We deal with these clinically all the time. I've not personally dealt with these. That's why, once again, when people say, well, doc, you became a huge expert when it came to being on female hormones. You're not a female, No, but I have experience with it. I've had to deal with it for 24 years clinically. We've had hundreds of thousands, millions of women that have come into the clinics that have had help, and we've seen their changes, and we've done their labs, we've done everything. So I said, you don't have to go through it in order to have a great insight on it. I've had to deal with this clinically. I sat across from women, I sat across from men that had severe mental disorders, had severe anxiety, had severe depression, and I'm gonna give you some tips that are going to hopefully help, and also some ways to look at it from a different perspective. So let's get into that. Let's get into that different perspective. All right, so the one thing that I wanted people to know is the severity of it, because when you don't deal with it, it kind of isn't part of your life. But there are a lot of people that do deal with it. So I started to pull out some of the articles and stuff that I noticed that were going around with that way. And you can see an astounding increase in antidepressant use by Americans. We've seen this not only during the pandemic, but we also saw this just even way before this. It's been on the rise extremely since 1999. You take a look, which is a very saddened stat that I read here. If you can see here, more than 37 million Americans take an antidepressant. If you think of it this way, there's roughly 350 million people, that's not even adults or children, but that means basically 1 out of 10 people in the US take some form of antidepressant. Now the statistics when it talks about women, there was a Harvard article that came out just some years ago where they talked about 6 out of 10 women have at one time or another have taken some form of mood changing medication. That's pretty severe if you think about it that way. And I understand. Remember, I actually understand. I can honestly tell you that when you actually have a person fill a history form, it's very common for them to talk about that they've been through depression, that they have anxiety. And believe it or not, those two things are different. A lot of people will come in and I'll ask them, I'll say, listen, say, doc, I suffer from depression, anxiety. I say, okay, which one? Because there is a difference on that. And I want to go through one of them today, and then we'll go through the other of them at the next show. But, then I kind of looked at some of the things that were posted recently, and I read this article and kind of look at this one here. Berkeley came out with Americans' epidemic of antidepressants. And if we read a little bit more in detail, let's take a look what they talked about. Although the end of the COVID-19 pandemic in the U.S. appears to be in sight, the mental health consequences of the pandemic, as well as the rise in rates of antidepressants use in the past decade. See, so it's not just recent, guys, also the last decade, reveal another public health crisis. Antidepressants use has skyrocketed since 1999, leading it to become one of the most popular types of pharmaceutical drugs in the U.S., with approximately 1 in 6, guys, 1 in 6 Americans on antidepressants, including more than a quarter of those as long-term usages, defined as a decade or more of use as of 2016. However, the reason behind the dramatic increase in antidepressant uses is unclear, okay? And the result of more depressed country and a victory of our healthcare system. Now, I kind of like that. Is it actually going on, and why is it people are so depressed today? Or once again, could it just be an over prescription of it that way? Because once again, there are other things that can be done. And that's what we're hoping to talk about. We're hoping to talk about saying, listen, there has to be some other alternatives, because we understand that when we look at depression and anxiety, they are on the rise. So then can there be something else that can be done? Are there some other factors that do it? But before we do that, as I talked about, anxiety and depression are different. They were extremely different. So let's look at anxiety itself. So what I want to do is I want to pull up Mayo Clinics here, and we're going to keep this up for a second because I want people to take a look at this, and I want people to understand something. I want you to try to tell me what it is after we even read through this, okay? Because it's very important to know this, because I believe that sometimes mental illnesses, once again, let me say it really clearly, they're extremely real, but it's kind of a ghost. And what I mean by that is, I can see it, but I don't know how to measure it, okay? So let's take a look, all right? Anxiety disorders, let's see what Mayo Clinic has to say about it. Experiencing occasional anxiety is a normal part of life. However, people with anxiety disorders frequently have intense, excessive, and persistent worry and fear about everyday situations. Often anxiety disorders involve repeated episodes of sudden feelings of intense anxiety and fear of terror that reach a peak within minutes. These feelings of anxiety and panic interfere with daily activities as difficult to control, are out of proportion to the actual danger, and can last a long time. You may avoid places or situations to prevent these feelings. Symptoms may start during childhood or teen years and continue into childhood. adulthood, sorry, excuse me. Examples of anxiety disorder include generalized anxiety disorder, society anxiety disorder, specific phobias, separation anxiety disorder. You can have more than one anxiety disorder. Sometimes anxiety results from a medical condition that needs treatment. Whatever form of anxiety you have, treatment can help. So what is it? You know, I don't mean it negatively. I'm like, so what is it? See, whenever you read about anxiety, all they talk about is there is a feeling. They have no criteria. There's no diagnostic aspect of it. The whole psychological, now let me go on the side. Like I told you, I'm always getting a different perspective, but sometimes just different perspective actually kind of makes people upset. The psychiatric world is based on nothing but just how a person feels. That's it. And I'm not saying people don't feel terrible. I'm not saying they don't have heart racing things. I sat across from both women and men that had uncontrollable panic and anxiety. So I'm not saying it's not real. I'm just saying there's no measurable criteria to even base or even come up with a good explanation of how to even approach it besides altering your feelings. And so that puts people in a very tough position because here's what happens. When you go to a doctor, the medical doctor, psychiatrist, counselor, I always love this, and I don't care if you're a medical counselor or a Christian counselor, they're just drugging the hell out of you. They're just throwing medication at you. And it's really saddened because they're always just trying to change your feelings. And like I said, when people come in antidepressants or come with anxiety drugs, I look at them and say, okay, what was the criteria? What was the diagnostic? What was the approach they do? What did they determine? How they determined that you needed this? And it was just like, well, it was based nothing on how I feel. I think there's got to be something better than that, okay? So if you look here, what are some of the major symptoms of it? Here it is. And we look, feeling nervous, having a sense of pain and danger, having an increased heart rate, breathing rapidly, sweating, trembling. So once again, all these symptoms are extremely real. I've seen them happen clinically standing right in front of me. But look at the causes, okay? For some people, anxiety may be linked to an underlying health issue. In some cases, anxiety signs and symptoms are the first indications of a medical illness. If your doctor suspects your anxiety has a medical cause, he or she may order tests to look for a sign of the problems. Heart disease, diabetes, thyroid problems, respiratory, drug misuse, withdrawal of alcohol, chronic pain, rare tumors that produce certain fight or flight hormones. Now, see, that's something I can agree with. See, it's interesting because when people say, well, I suffer from a mental disorder, you're going to find out that there is a direct connection between a mental disorder and actually some physical disorder. That's why, once again, we're going to get into this probably toward the end of the month, post-Christmas, because it'll be a good time for January to start this. But one of the greatest forms of antidepressant treatments is actually exercise. It's actually known. It's actually one of the best things to do because there's some physical change you need to do. So I'm going to tell you right now, and I'll tell you right now that I totally believe clinically, because I've seen it. Well, Doc, you've helped thousands of people, and your doctors have helped hundreds of thousands of people get off of antidepressants. Yes, because they went to and looked at the physical condition that was changing the biochemistry, that was changing the psychology, and it led for them to have more no need for it. All right, so therefore I will honestly correlate that if you have some mental disorder, there's going to be some physical disorder. I can personally tell you, people say, well, there's some genetic factor. That doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. There's no genetic factor that makes you depressed. Do you see? I'm not saying that your mom and dad can't have situations, or there can't be things that an environment that actually makes a child or something that a little bit more have anxiety or depression, stuff like that. But when that happens, but if you change that environment, you change that physical aspect of that, their mental aspect will change. And that's when you look at some of the things you see here. When you look at the aspects of anxiety, what is it and what do we do? Okay. Well, look at, I actually like this. Harvard talks about, number one, lifestyle changes. By far. You say, and they talk about caffeine, exercise regularly, avoiding medicines or substances that might cause anxiety. Do you understand? I want you to take a look at this. There's medications out there every day that cause anxiety and depression. Do you understand that antidepressants, do you know what one of the number one actually side effects of antidepressants is? Suicide. Suicide. It's well known. It's actually extremely well known that that is actually one of the major factors. So what I really want people to grasp from what we're going to talk about today is there is a massive link between a physical change that happens here, which directly affects here. Okay, we know that. We actually know that from history now that some of our major neurotransmitters that do affect us psychologically are produced in the body. Do you know what I'm saying? Do you understand? Our heart makes things that affect us neurologically. So when there is physical changes, it's going to affect you mentally. So that's why, once again, if you're depressed, if you have anxiety, go for a walk, get outside, change those things. Is that going to get rid of everything? No. Trust me, I understand this. People have very devastating mental things that happen to them daily. I get it. They lost a loved one, some bad trauma happened. Once again, that can result in some physical changes. But what you can do is there are factors that can really change those things that are important. And one of the things that we have to understand that the minute that we have those physical changes, there are biochemical things that we can start to measure. There really is. And there's a story of a 19-year-old girl who came here because she was going through some high anxiety. And her mom is a nurse here at Purveya Hospital. And she was just like, I don't want my daughter to be put on the anti-anxiety drugs and everything because I know what they do to people. See, I always love this. A lot of medical people come into our clinics because they don't want to be on drugs, because they see what it does to other people. That's a very common thing that happens with our clinicians. So where can we start? What will be something that we need to do and we could look at that will help us know that anxiety, depression, and other contributing factors lead to what's going on? Well, here we go. I like to check the hormone cortisol. Okay, so you can see cortisol is as a biomarker of mental disorder severity. If you take a look, there's a significant research talking that, once again, its influence on it is dramatic. And if we look, the influence of antidepressants and antipsychotics on cortisol levels in healthy people and those with mental disorders is also described. It gives a review, once again, that, listen, let's even go over it. I'll even read it for you here. Cortisol, the most important steroid hormone with a significant effect on the body's metabolism, strongly affects peripheral tissue and the central nervous system. Fluctuations in cortisol secretion often accompany psychiatric disorders, and normalization of its levels correlates with improvement of a patient's health. This indicates that cortisol may be useful as a biological marker that can help determine the likelihood of mental illness, its impending onset, and the severity of symptoms, which is especially important in the face of an increasing prevalence of mental disorders, including those associated with social isolation and anxiety during the COVID-19 pandemic. Okay, so I want you to think about that. It's a great biomarker. It really is, because what it does, it shows us that if this is elevated, there is a physical change. Cortisol does change everything from your liver to your heart to your kidneys, but it has a massive impact on our brain. It really does. And so once again, I had this 19-year-old girl come in, and her mom, once again, did not want her on things. So I said, listen, let's run some lab work, all right? Now, we also ran a Dutch test, but this is just her blood work right here. As you can see, once again, ran everything from vitamin D levels, once again. And if you look, ran also, and that's one thing that her mom was like, oh, maybe because it's a season, because it's more winter season, maybe her vitamin D levels will be abnormal because that can contribute massive to psychiatric problems. But her D levels, or you can see right there, her vitamin D levels were at 97. But this is where they missed. Now, cortisol can be ran in saliva, urine, or blood. I do prefer that you actually run it by urine or saliva because you can get a 4 sample. But what we want to do was just grab the blood aspect of it. And as you can see, the blood work was done. Once again, I think it was done in the afternoon. Yes, it was done in the afternoon. So let's take a look back at the levels here. If you look at it this way, her level is 34.4. Even in the morning level where it's the highest, you don't want to be above 19. In the evening, you don't want to be above 12. And she was at 34. Her cortisol levels were physically high. Okay, and it was leading to massive damage on her system. Now, other factors that could contribute to this. You're going to find this kind of interesting. One of the first things that we did to actually reduce her anxiety was give her one word of advice. Well, actually, one sentence to say this. And this is not going to be fun considering the season that we're in, because there's a reason why I believe December can be not only a mentally tough, but also a physically tough month, is because I looked at her and I said, young lady, okay, yes, there are other stressors involved, but after spending a little time with her and talking about stuff, she was a massive sugar addict. And I said, you need to reduce your sugar and stuff. So she was like, oh, because being a college girl, that she just was. She was actually consuming high processed, high grain based and sugar foods that way. And she was a runner, so she figured that, guess what? That I will just start to, do those things and, eat my carb loading before I go running that way. And it was tearing up her insides. No joke. Nice thing is this young lady today, it's actually in her 20s. She's doing amazing. And once again, she never ended up on any antidepressant, which leads to something I want you guys to see. Remember, I know it's difficult during this month, but cortisol also helps regulate your blood sugar. So if you are going through it, I literally get messages. I literally had this the other day. This was 2 days ago. A person sent me a message on Instagram, said, what can I do for my son because he suffers massively with ADHD and I don't want to put him on meds. And I said, pull his sugar away. Her first response is, man, that will be hard. Man, that will be hard. I was like, really? Hard? Hard should be the fact that you would even consider putting him on a psychiatric drug that could alter his life, the rest of his life, instead of his habits. I think one of the reasons why people are depressed today and actually have anxiety, because we don't tackle hard things anymore. We don't, and I know I just probably upset some people that way, but we got to take some things on. They're hard today. You saying? We have a soft generation. We really do. It's like, come on, Sam, it's really difficult to watch some of that stuff. Life can be hard. We get it. But if you want to avoid hard stuff, you're going to have anxiety and depression the rest of your life, because life sometimes is very hard regardless how good you have it. So remember, join us on No Sugar January and stuff of that. So it'll be great. So let's take a little commercial break here. Hey guys, how we doing over there? How are people doing all their things? What we got, Josh? What we got in there?
They're doing good, Doc. A lot of people on. We're telling them to go over to ADP.
We're here. We're seen all over from all the states.
Yep, adp.thewellnessway.com. Make sure that they're commenting over there so they can be eligible. So everything's working out pretty good.
I think the cutest thing is the little snowman over your left shoulder between you and Miranda. That little snowman in the background. Look at him. There he is. That's a cute little bugger. That's awesome.
I mean, you don't like these right here?
I love your antlers. I do love them. The Wellness Way hat and the antlers are perfect. So, all right. So here we go. Another factor that I absolutely love when it does come to monitoring what can contribute, what can actually help with anxiety. As you can see here, even though you saw that young lady that had her vitamin D levels, vitamin D and anxiety affective disorder, it's a factor that can really contribute to it. Guess what? When we look at this, reduced levels of vitamin D or its metabolites have been reported in various psychiatric disorders. Insufficient levels of vitamin D in depressive patients have been confirmed by many authors. Okay, so I want you to think about this. Vitamin D is actually known as kind of a happy hormone. It's really, remember, it's really a happy hormone. It really is. It controls us a lot psychologically. That's why if you notice, it's called seasonal affective disorder. It's the only known factor that contributes to it is actually having low vitamin D levels. That's why, once again, that's why the sun is so important to us. Well, we live in Wisconsin. It's freaking cold here right now. I mean, it was like 10 degrees, supposed to snow today, all that good stuff. And guess what happens? So, yeah, I was outside this morning, kind of doing my nice chill and everything. But the idea is this. I'm not getting any sun. You know what I'm saying? Actually, when I was out there, it was actually dark. But the idea is this, is you're not going to sit outside much when you're during this type of season. But you got to remember, taking some form of vitamin D is very important. Now, people always say, Doc, in general, what would you consider a good vitamin D level? I like vitamin D levels between the average person that has no health condition, between 50 and 70. If you have some autoimmune disorder, maybe between 70 and 90. But the nice thing is get your blood levels done to see where they're at. Don't just take vitamin D, because once again, it's fat soluble, so you want to make sure that you don't take too much. But once again, sometimes it's hard to take too much. If you do, you can stop and it drops very quickly. But get those done, because vitamin D has a major effect on it. And if you look, it's quite interesting. They have done major studies when it did come to supplementation and anxiety. Vitamin D supplementation ameliorates severity of generalized anxiety disorder. As you can see, as I have, once again, here, talks about the great detail of it and what happens with it when it comes to the vitamin D levels, because what it does, it really is a great biomarker to see the psychiatric aspect, and it actually really does well compared to medication when it comes to changing that. All right. So guys, as you know, we're just giving you guys some clues that you can measure, because it happens so commonly that when people do come in anxiety, they don't have their hormone levels measured, they don't have their vitamin D levels, they don't have their cortisol levels measured. It's some great place to start. Remember, what I want you to get from today's show is understand that there is usually some physical thing that relates to a mental thing. it's so interesting. If you ever feel off, no joke, get outside, go for a walk. Even if it's cold, you'd be surprised at the things that your body can change mentally by doing that. Now, what we're going to do is I'm going to kind of go over a product that I used clinically for a long time when it did come to anxiety, because once again, like I said before, I sat across from people that had all those symptoms, severe ones. I mean, I can honestly tell you that probably the most severe thing that I had one time was when a husband brought in his wife, and this happened, and I'm going to give a very detailed description of it, because what I want to do is to see the severity, and this is really real. So when I talk about that, they talk about it's just a feeling. Once again, I'm not saying that, once again, those feelings aren't devastating and can destroy your life. I'm saying they have to do a better job of actually leading patients besides just giving some psychiatric medication, because this husband brought in his wife one day, no appointment, no paperwork, no nothing, and he walked in with his arms around his wife, holding her as she was trembling, as she was shaking. Walked in the door, this was probably about 10 years ago, and he just said, please help, please help. And she was crying, she was in tears, and she was trembling like crazy. And I was actually with another patient. My staff came and got me, and I said, okay, just put her back into her room right away. No joke, I said, put her back into the room. And what ended up happening was this. What I had to do the husband did not want her to go to the emergency room again, because they loaded her up with antidepressants and it made her suicidal. So he just didn't know what to do. So he brought her in, okay? And it was interesting because, listen, at that time, it was gonna be very difficult to get anything with her. So I put her into a room, and I said, okay, here we go. And believe it or not, there's something, I literally went over, opened a couple bottles of things, including this, and I'm gonna go into our product knowledge right now, because I wanna cover it a little bit more in detail. So here we go. Okay, so what I want to cover today is something that I believe is very important clinically, and it's something that I used massively when I was in full-time practice, especially because remember, when you deal with physical disorders, there's always some mental disorder that happens. It happens with women, it happens with guys. So as I actually grabbed some things off the shelf, the first thing I grabbed before I even walked in there was Bacopa, all right? Because as I was talking to him, he was telling me some things. He's like, man, she seems like she's just losing her memory. Okay, she can't concentrate, she can't focus, she can't sleep. I'm like, okay, there were some things that came into mind clinically that she was going to be lacking some synaptic activity. Imagine two nerves that are together, and there has to be some transmission of electrical activity between there. It's almost like having a disconnection between two electrical sources that couldn't work. And so I literally said, okay, listen, I grabbed a tablespoon, and no joke, guys, I'm telling you clinically what happened. I had no labs, I had no testing. I knew that she had already been through the hospital many times. They did scans there, made sure she didn't have a tumor, so I knew she didn't have something that was going to, that she was not in severity as far as life-threatening. So I knew just sending her back to the hospital. They do nothing besides sedate her again like they did with drugs. So I grabbed Bacopa. And because here's what happens. When you see a difference, when you see the connection between, when people say, I can't concentrate and then have some anxiety, I'm like, I just think about that disconnect. I think about that synaptic disconnect. I remember a synapse is like, imagine two nerves like this, and there's a little transmission of hormones that go back and forth. Well, Bacopa actually has the constituents to give that nerve the ability to actually go back to there. And if you look, there's documented research when it comes to this. They actually did double-blind studies on it. And what they found out is Bacopa, and I love it, I'm multitasking the stress, reactivity, and mood. And no joke, and what they found out, and they even compared it to medication. And there were also some positive mood effects and reduction in cortisol levels, pointing to the physiological mechanism of stress reduction associated with Bacopa consumption. And it was great because, no joke, within 15 minutes, she started to calm down. Her trembling actually started to stop. And then what I did want to sedate her a little bit. So I gave her like 3 tablespoons of California poppy, which is, once again, a central nervous system calmer. And no joke, and I will tell you this, it happened a long time ago. That woman and her husband are still patients today. They come in about once a year to get their blood work done. They get adjusted by our docs on a regular basis, and they are doing absolutely phenomenal. They really are. Now, was there other lab work and everything that I did? Yes. She did have some hormone problems. Actually, she had cortisol problems. She had estrogen problems. And once again, she actually ended up in a situation to where her physical aspect led to such mental changes that was devastating for her. But as you can see here, Bacopa has some more backing. This one thing I liked about it, and this was, once again, their anxiolytic activity of the standardized extracted Bacopa, an experimental study. And once again, I just highlighted stuff for you guys. You can pause and watch this later and stuff like that. But I just wanted to show you, they compared it to lorazepam, and it beat it. It actually beat it in its effect to when it came to changing mood and anxiety. It reduced it better than lorazepam. So that was their research on it that way. See, one thing, guys, I always find funny when people say, you know, doc, do you have evidence to back what you do? Yeah, I mean, you can just look at the physiological changes that you can read on research, but then we've applied it clinically. See, so when I actually went over that video that Miranda and I did, that went to 12 million views within a day or two, it was nothing more than understanding physiology, understand that women and men have a dramatically different physiology and needs, including sleep, and just talked about it. So listen, ladies, I want your hormone reserves to build up. Men, you can get away with it. You can get away with having less. You really can. Women cannot. And that hormone reserve leads to not only physical, but psychiatric changes. Ladies, if you don't get good sleep, you're going to have anxiety and depression. You're going to, because there's physical changes that happen with that. So, as we continue to go through our mental disorder, yes?
Doc, we've had quite a few ladies in the comments ask what your opinion is on CMOS. Do you think you could touch on that real quick?
On CMOS?
Yeah.
Yeah, I will. We'll do that during our when we go through our stuff. So yes, I will definitely do that. So I know it's actually a very high trending topic right now in CMOS. And I will tell you, just in general, I'll tell you this, I'll say it right away, I'm a fan of it. Okay, so everybody knows that I'm a fan of CMOS, just to let you guys know. Because here, I'm also a fan of algae. So, and people say, well, doc, do you sell it? No, there's great products out there. Remember, what we do here at the Wellness Way, we try to do the things that are most clinically sound as far as, it doesn't mean CMOS isn't clinically sound, but that's more something that you can get on a regular basis. We physically produce our high potency herbs and things like that. We manufacture them ourselves. They're not private label. We actually truly manufacture them so we can control them. There are other great products, just like vitamin D. You don't have to buy our vitamin D, you can get vitamin D anyway. Right? There's great products out there you can do it. So, all right. So as we continue to cover mental disorders the rest of the time, I'm going to cover depression next week, go a little bit more into it that way, give you different tips and stuff like that. But now we're going to bring a little happiness to everybody, are we not? So I have a big old sheet here. So we're going to go back and forth with Eric, Joshua, Miranda. And for all you guys that are live, remember, if you're live, you win. If you're not live, too bad, okay? So as you can see, wait, I even have a big old packet stuff here. There's some big stuff here too that we're giving away. Everything from a scholarship, everything from what package this there is. So let's do this. I'm just going to read it off, guys, and you guys are going to pick the winner. And then what do you want them to do once their name is announced? Joshua, what would you like them to do?
So what they're going to be doing is after you are picked to win, we have an email set up. What's it? It's the...
There it is. Giveaways at the Wellness Way.
At the bottom, you read it right there. It's giveaways at thewellnessway.com. You need to get an email, your full name, so we can contact you and give you any information that you need, where you can get your gift from, like all that kind of stuff. So we just need to be able to interact with you. So once again, look down here at the bottom. Make sure that you go to this. Giveaways at thewellnessway.com. And good luck to everybody.
All right, so here we go. So first thing we're going to give away is the 6-month care plan. What does that come with? That means 6 months of care. That means you will get 6 months of care with our doctors. That gives you one test read, which is $300. That will give you a food education, okay, for $200, and our consults. So here we go. Guys, who has won that prize?
All right, the winner of that prize is Kathy Thompson. Kathy Thompson.
Woo! All right.
You are the winner.
Congratulations, Kathy. Fantastic. Now, what we are doing now is giving away 3 free consults there. So I guess we'll have 3 winners for that, right? So that 3 or that 1? What are you doing? Oh, 3 winners. There we go. Awesome. Thank you, Travis. So we're going to give away 3 winners. So, guys, who do we have for our 3 winners?
Okay, 3 winners are Stephanie Boone, Karen Holcomb, and Daniel Vollmer.
Yeah.
Danielle Vollmer.
Nice.
All right.
Congratulations.
All right. I apologize because I actually didn't watch the giveaways last week because I was actually on the golf course. I remember I forgot to send a name. Did we give one to, what was it here? Natasha Glumsky last week? All right, we may not have. All right, so I'm giving an extra one. So see, we're giving more away. And the reason why I'm giving it away to Natasha Glumsky, oh wait, and her name is actually, take it back, Sean Bott, okay? Natasha's the one that sent in thing for Sean. Sean Bott is the person that won it. So you guys actually email us down below, so congratulations. All right, here we go. Now we have 2 new patient packages. All right, who is our winners there, guys?
The winner is Krista Olson and Karen Waterman.
All right, congratulations. That's right, winners, okay, that's a great part. All right, now we have our immune system basket right here. Here we go, look at this beautiful thing right here. So what's in here? Actually the only herb I actually take every single day, astragalus. Now it doesn't mean I don't take other things, it's just the only liquid herb I take. And just to let you know, people ask this all the time. What does your liquids taste like? Well, imagine this. Imagine somebody peed in your jar, you put it in the sun for a week, and then I made you drink it. They taste horrible. They absolutely do. They taste absolutely ridiculously bad, okay? But if you look at the back ingredients, all you have is the pure extraction, which is just highly concentrated, the highest in the world, organic, perfectly done, perfectly grown in bioidentical farming, or bioavailable farming. And it's kind of great because I want you guys to understand this is, yeah, they are horrible. So we got astragalus, immune glandular, one of my favorite. I'm actually taking that one too. Elderberry, echinacea, Oregon grape, reishi, shot glass, TW notebook, camu, and something that fell out of the box. We have Wellness Way socks. These things are the best. I wear them all the time, we really do. And our Wellness Way water bottle. All right, so for our immune support basket, who has won it?
Jess Harden has won the basket.
Yeah.
All right, there we go. I forgot to put my Santa hat on. There, Kyle got this for me and everything. So yes, now for our scholarship, once again, for people who don't understand, we have a Wellness Way Academy. The majority of the people that actually take the Wellness Way Academy are medical people, nurses, doctors, other medical people. And for you guys that don't know this, if you go on my LinkedIn or you go on my personal Facebook page, I'm doing a webinar for doctors, chiropractors mainly, but also other doctors, because the Wellness Way is actually expanding and our company is getting bigger and bigger, and we have more offices opening up all over the world. So some doctors say, how can I convert my office into a Wellness Way brand? Well, on January 3rd, Josh was right, January 3rd?
January 3rd, that's correct.
Now, one thing I want to point out, do you guys ever notice how often I ask my team stuff? People give me a lot of credit. I'm like, guys, you understand, it's my team. they know the stuff, you know what I'm saying? So it's kind of great. So I couldn't live without these guys and gals. But we do it on January 3rd because I can show you how you can convert your office into a Wellness Way office and get the greatest clinical results. And that's what's made us great. We do have a fantastic media team that allows us to grow over the world. But you know something that makes us so popular is the clinical results that we get and the outcomes. And that's why the Wellness Way will continue to grow and continue to be a huge, massive brand all over the world. And I'm excited to see what happens over the next 10 years, just as we've grown massively over the last 10 years alone. All right, so congratulations on that. So we have our scholarship, which is part of the Academy. The Academy costs $12,000 a year to go to. And what it does, it's not a joke, it's a fantastic thing. People can learn how to do what we do. It's all online. Once again, we do ask you to show up to one of our major seminars that you can travel to. It's either in Florida. This year we have one in Green Bay, and the next one we have in Florida. The year after that we have Vegas in Florida, so they're kind of great. We perpetuate them all over. So, scholarship for a wonderful person that's going to be part of the Wellness Way someday. Who is our winner there, Joshua? That's a big one.
Deanne Ruppel.
Deanne
You are the
Ruppel.
winner.
Nice, congratulations. You are a scholarship winner. And no joke, when you complete the schooling, you get a wonderful graduation process that way. It's fantastic. Our academy people work in Wellness Way clinics. We've had academy people open Wellness Way clinics, and they are doing wonderful. They're making great life changes to people all over the world. So, I love Christmas, guys. It's a great giveaway time. I'm so excited that we had a wonderful time to be able to share everybody with there. Great show today with all the mental disorders and everything that people go through. We actually hope that the advice that we give you makes your life better. Travis, did you create the snow and the dance? You got to put up the dancing snowman again. That thing was just too damn cute. There we go. Jeepers. I was when I saw Bugger, I started laughing. So, Travis, thank you. Kyle, thank you. Miranda, thank you. Joshua, thank you. Eric, thank you. Dr. Lucas, thank you. All you guys. We will see you next week for a different perspective on our second part of our mental health month, but also some more great giveaways. Got to be on live. We'll see you guys next week.
Thank you for watching. Make sure to subscribe to this channel so you don't miss a single video or live stream.
Each week on A Different Perspective, we bring you the most cutting-edge information on health you won't find anywhere else. For more information on this topic, please visit our website. A Different Perspective offers life-changing information and resources to share and explore. A Different Perspective is leading a health revolution.